On Friday, Donald Trump posted, "I absolutely love that Colbert got fired. His talent was even less than his ratings." Would an untalented man be able to compose the following satirical witticism? Go f*** yourself.
He's going to be a factor for a while. It's so funny because, you know, he was just this knucklehead. I knew him before he was, a president. He was just a guy who was chasing girls. You know, every time you went out, he'd come over and be like, "What's the name of that girl?" You know, that's all he was. And the idea that there's this whole group of people that, you know, that they think he's the champion of, which he certainly can't stand.
Trump struts into the cultural crossfire, convinced his celebrity armor will hold, but Colbert and Clooney aren't playing nice. They're locked, loaded, and laughing as they slice through his illusions. This isn't banter, it's a spectacle, a late-night assassin with a razor tongue teaming up with Hollywood's smoothest grin. Together, they peel him like an overripe banana left too long in the sun, loud, limp, and reeking by the minute. The roast isn't playful. It's precision demolition.
At this point, Trump isn't even trying to hide his awfulness. His critics accuse him of being a wannabe dictator, so what does he do? He sits down with Hungarian dictator and elephant seal barking for a trout, Viktor Orban. Orban went down to Mar-a-Lago on Friday for an official fake state visit with
the authoritarian, the demagogue. It goes away when they go away, and he will go away. And they don't have anybody that's as charismatic as him. He's charismatic. There's no taking that away from him. He's a television star. He is. He's charismatic. I mean, I don't agree with him at all on anything, but, you know, he was famous.
Stephen Colbert feasts on absurdity, and Trump serves it by the truckload. Every tweet, every rally, every rambling interview is an all-you-can-eat buffet of material. Colbert doesn't just point out Trump's blunders, he magnifies them, turning the ridiculous into a bonfire. Trump tries to look presidential but ends up like the world's most chaotic open-mic act, tossing out half-baked slogans as if they're punchlines no one asked for. Colbert hits that weakness hard, revealing him not as a leader but as a pratfall in slow motion. Funny only because he doesn't know he's the joke.
I don't know what you all are talking about, but everybody I talk to is talking about what Donald Trump doesn't want to talk about. So let's talk about it. It being the conspiracy surrounding his old dancing buddy, Jeffrey Epstein. There you go.
Clooney dismantles Trump with a cooler, sharper blade. Where Colbert ridicules the clownish persona, Clooney goes for the insecurity underneath. Trump's obsession with ratings, applause, and constant validation looks almost tragic next to Clooney's effortless calm. Clooney doesn't need to brag about money or fame, he just is, and the contrast alone becomes a roast. He mocks Trump's desperate hunger for approval, the way he clings to it like a toddler clutching a juice box. Beside Clooney's quiet confidence, Trump starts to look like a parody of ambition, always sweating, always reaching for applause that never really comes.
I think people would vote for someone who was so deeply flawed. You know, I mean, I know Donald Trump. You know, I mean, that's the thing is people, you know, I have his phone number in my phone book. He was the guy that came to the bars and asked me about which cocktail waitress was single. You know, that's who he was.
This was back in the 90s.
Not that long. No, back in the 2000s, quite honestly. And so there's this part of you that just goes, well, that guy shouldn't be president. But I was wrong, and he was, and our democracy.
Colbert zeroes in on Trump's speaking style, and the results are brutal. The rambling tangents, the half-finished thoughts, the grand declarations that dissolve into nothing, it's a circus act with no ringmaster. Colbert paints him as the world's worst improv comic, babbling nonsense while the crowd wonders if there's a punchline coming. The sting of the roast comes from Colbert's precision. He mimics Trump's rhythm, shows how every promise crumbles mid-sentence, and highlights how a man so eager to look powerful ends up sounding like he's lost inside his own verbal maze.
For years, before he was, reelected, and recently, since they all got into office, a bunch of high-ranking people in Trump's administration have kept promising to release the files surrounding Jeffrey Epstein, his mysterious clients, and his suspicious death. But now, suddenly, for reasons that I legally cannot think of, Donald Trump seems desperate to stop us from knowing who Jeffrey Epstein.
Clooney sharpens the blade by zeroing in on Trump's fixation with appearances. The hair, the tan, the endless boasts about vigor, Clooney spins them into comedy gold. As a man who's aged with effortless grace, he turns Trump's vanity into tragic theater. The orange glow becomes a metaphor for desperation, the hair a crown of denial. Clooney reframes Trump not as powerful, but as brittle, a man slathering on so much camouflage that the cracks beneath only grow wider, until the whole facade threatens to collapse under its own weight.
Trump is a big fan of yours, but he posted in July, now fake movie actor George Clooney is getting into the act. He's turned on Crooked Joe. What does Clooney know about anything? Should get out of politics and go back to television. Movies never really work for him.
I will if he does.
He doesn't know that movies are fake, does he?
I don't think so.
Colbert goes for the jugular with Trump's business record, the bankruptcies, the failed casinos, the sham university. Every so-called victory collapses into a trail of lawsuits and broken promises. He jokes that Trump might be the only man alive who could lose money running a casino, the house that's supposed to always win. The comedy practically writes itself, and Colbert wrings every drop of irony from it, turning Trump into the monopoly man gone bankrupt, a tycoon whose empire is built from press releases, not profits. Clooney takes the wider shot, skewering Trump's lifelong craving for Hollywood's approval. Trump chased the spotlight for decades, desperate for celebrity validation, only to end up as the industry's favorite punchline. Clooney highlights the absurdity of a man who tried to buy cultural relevance and wound up the blooper reel instead. In his framing, Trump isn't a leading man, or even a side character. He's the extra who keeps barging onto set, begging for a line, only to get laughed off stage.
And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, my mustache comes to you with a heavy heart, because while I was on vacation, my Paramount paid Donald Trump a $16 million settlement over his 60 Minutes lawsuit. As someone who has always been a proud employee of this network, I am offended. And I don't know if anything will ever repair my trust in this company. But just taking a stab at it, I'd say $16 million would help.
Colbert dives into Trump's political career, turning the chaos of his administration into a comedy feast. The revolving door of staff, the non-stop scandals, the press conferences that unraveled faster than cheap yarn, all of it becomes fair game. Colbert likens Trump's presidency to a reality show that should have been canceled after the pilot, but somehow limped through 4 unruly seasons. He mines laughs from the spectacle of government behaving like a soap opera, with Trump as the melodramatic lead who never knew his lines. Clooney, meanwhile, goes for contrast, pitting Trump against real statesmen. He strips Trump's victories down to photo ops, mocking how his foreign policy played like a parody of a travel vlog. In Clooney's framing, Trump's diplomacy wasn't about building alliances, it was about collecting autographs. The blows land because they remove the last vestiges of gravitas, leaving only a man addicted to spectacle, forever performing for the camera.
Unlike your ability to sleep at night, the Epstein scandal will not go away. The president denied that Attorney General Pam Bondi informed him that his name was in the Epstein file. So naturally, last night, the Wall Street Journal reported that Attorney General Pam Bondi informed the president that his name was in the Epstein file. I, for one, was shocked. What are you going to tell me next?
Colbert zeroes in on Trump's relentless self-pity. No matter the occasion, Trump casts himself as the ultimate victim of the media, the establishment, anyone who dares to question him. Colbert turns that whining into a weapon, portraying Trump as the world's richest martyr. He mocks the absurdity of a billionaire president crying foul like he's powerless, comparing Trump's grievances to a leaky faucet that never stops dripping. To Colbert, Trump isn't a warrior against the system. He's the complainer-in-chief, drowning in his own tears. Clooney tightens the vice by going after Trump's legacy. While Trump dreams of being immortalized as a great leader, Clooney reframes him as a cautionary tale. He imagines future generations reading about Trump not as a statesman, but as a punchline, the case study in how far spectacle can drag democracy. Clooney twists the knife by contrasting Trump's desperate quest for immortality with the cruel reality of being remembered as the loudest embarrassment in modern politics. Together, Colbert and Clooney are a perfect tag team. Colbert dismantles Trump's words, mannerisms, and absurdity in real time, while Clooney strikes at the ego beneath it all, shredding the vanity, the hunger for status, and the illusion of power.
In fact, yesterday, he said he was surprised anyone even cares about the guy.
I don't understand it. Why they would be so interested. He's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life.
That sentence was never a big factor in terms of word. He went on.
I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff.
Yes. No, he's right. The Epstein.
Trump isn't just roasted, he's dismantled piece by piece. Every flaw is dragged into the spotlight, exaggerated until all that remains is a silhouette of desperation. The brilliance lies in the balance. Colbert delivers the sting of satire, Clooney the elegance of ridicule. Together, they leave Trump collapsing under the weight of his own absurdity. He isn't merely mocked, he's reduced. The man who once demanded loyalty, applause, and unquestioned devotion is revealed as a parody of himself. Colbert and Clooney don't invent punchlines, they simply magnify the reality Trump works so hard to conceal. And in doing so, they craft the ultimate humiliation. Trump dreamed of being immortalized as a titan of history. Instead, they freeze him in time as comedy's favorite cautionary tale. Colbert zeroes in on Trump's obsession with crowd sizes, one of the most unintentionally comic insecurities in political history. No matter the event, Trump inflates the numbers like a carnival barker selling tickets to an empty tent. Colbert ridicules the spectacle of a man insisting millions attended gatherings that aerial photos show were half full at best. He compares the obsession to a teenager bragging about a party no one showed up to, skewering how Trump's need to rewrite reality, down to sharp-level revisions, only makes the joke funnier each time.
Say, we don't know if he was doing the creepy crime, but we do have a cover-up. And just like the cover-up on his face, it is patchy and there's some really ugly under there. The incriminating details just keep coming out. For instance, this resurfaced 2010 Jeffrey Epstein deposition.
Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Okay, that's a slam dunk. Just say no. Okay, take it away, Jeffrey.
Though I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to have to assert my fifth, sixth.
Clooney piles on by mocking Trump's desperate quest to be surrounded by celebrities who wanted nothing to do with him. His obsession with glitz and glamour becomes a running punchline as Clooney highlights Trump's relentless need for Hollywood's approval and how he was consistently shunned. He paints Trump as the eternal outsider, a man who craved the Oscars but ended up hosting WrestleMania. The roast stings because it shows a man who wanted to be adored by the cultural elite, only to end up resented, ridiculed, and permanently cast as the gatecrasher no one invited. Colbert takes aim at Trump's fragile relationship with reality. He skewers the endless falsehoods, the manufactured statistics, the shameless inventions Trump spewed as if truth were optional. Colbert exaggerates the absurdity, turning Trump into a magician whose tricks always fail, wires showing, rabbits refusing to appear. The humor doesn't just come from the lies, but from the sheer confidence with which Trump delivered them, as though repetition could turn fiction into fact. Colbert thrives on that contradiction, showing how Trump turned dishonesty into a full-time act, one that never convinced anyone outside his own cheering section.